The glittering studio lights of London's West End were brighter than usual on that Thursday evening. Jonathan Ross, one of Britain's most popular and sharp-tongued television hosts, was preparing for what was expected to be a record-breaking episode of his late-night show. The guest list promised excitement: a few chart-topping musicians, a celebrated actress from Hollywood, and finally, the crown jewel of the night, Prince Harry. Harry had been booked months in advance, at a time when his public image was undergoing a massive shift. After stepping away from royal duties, moving across the Atlantic, and being caught in the middle of media storms, he had become both a figure of admiration and controversy. The producers believed his presence would send ratings soaring, and Jonathan Ross, known for mixing humor with provocation, was the perfect man to bring out headline-making quotes. Backstage, the Duke of Sussex sat with a calm yet cautious expression. He was dressed casually in a navy blazer and white shirt, the kind of semi-formal look that told the world he was still royal by blood, yet determined to live life on his own terms. Meghan wasn't with him; she had chosen to stay home, aware of the kind of sensationalism British media often thrived on. Harry, however, felt it was time to speak, though he underestimated how far Jonathan Ross was willing to push him. The show began with laughter and applause. Ross cracked his usual jokes, teased the musicians, and warmed the crowd with his signature wit. But when Harry walked onto the stage, the atmosphere shifted. The audience roared, half with admiration, half with curiosity. Everyone knew sparks might fly, and they were eager to witness it. Jonathan started politely enough. "So, Harry," he said with a grin, "no crown, no palace, but still the most famous ginger in the world. How does it feel?" Harry chuckled, brushing it off. "It feels good. Honestly, it feels freeing. I'm living life with my family on my own terms." The crowd clapped, appreciating the honesty. But Ross wasn't going to leave it there. He leaned forward, his smile growing sharper. "Freeing, yes. But also, controversial. You've been accused of abandoning your country, your family, and even your duty. What do you say to people who call you a runaway prince?" Harry's smile faded. His jaw tightened, but he tried to remain composed. "I didn't run away. I made a choice to protect my wife and children. The pressure, the intrusion, the racism, it wasn't sustainable. I chose love over protocol." That answer earned applause, but Jonathan wasn't done. He had the glint in his eyes that told viewers he smelled a bigger moment. "Fair enough, Harry. But here's the thing, isn't your wife part of the problem? Some people say Meghan encouraged you to turn your back on everything. That she, how do I put it nicely, tore you away from your family. What do you say to that?" The audience gasped. The musicians and actress sitting on the side of the stage exchanged awkward glances. Harry froze for a moment, his face clouded with both hurt and anger. He leaned forward. "My wife saved me. If it weren't for Meghan, I don't know where I'd be. Don't reduce her to some villain when the truth is much bigger than your tabloid narrative." Ross raised his brows. "Come on, Harry. You can't deny that ever since Meghan came into your life, the royal drama has multiplied. It's ratings gold, yes, but, well, are you happy being known as the prince who left rather than the prince who served?" That was the breaking point. Harry's voice grew louder, firm and cutting. "I served for 10 years in the military. I put my life on the line in Afghanistan. I've spent years raising awareness for mental health, veterans, and children in need. Don't sit there and reduce my life to headlines and gossip. You want ratings, Jonathan? Fine. But don't disrespect me or my wife." The crowd fell silent. Jonathan, however, smirked and leaned back in his chair. He wasn't used to guests snapping back with such intensity. He tried to lighten the mood with humor. "Whoa, calm down, Harry. It's just TV. No need to go all royal rage on me." But Harry wasn't laughing. His voice rose, his anger raw and unfiltered. "You think this is a joke? My family's safety isn't a joke. The abuse my wife faced isn't a joke. The way the press twisted everything we said, that isn't entertainment. That's our life. And I'm sick of people like you fueling it for laughs." The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay silent. Some cheered, some shifted uncomfortably. Cameras kept rolling, catching every second of the explosive moment. The control room buzzed with panic. Producers whispered frantically into their headsets, unsure if they should cut to commercial. Ross, visibly irritated now, fired back. "You came here knowing the questions would be tough. If you can't handle it, maybe live TV isn't for you. Harry shot up from his chair. His voice thundered across the stage. You don't get to talk to me like that. Not after everything I've been through, everything my family has been through. I came here to share my side of the story, not to be mocked or disrespected. Gasps erupted from the audience. Security moved discreetly toward the stage, unsure if things would escalate further. Jonathan tried to regain control, but Harry was already pacing, shaking his head in disbelief. Enough, Harry muttered. I don't need this circus. And then, in a moment that would dominate headlines for weeks to come, Prince Harry pulled off his microphone, tossed it onto the chair, and stormed off the stage, live on air. The cameras tried to cut to Jonathan, but his stunned expression said it all. The show went to a commercial break faster than anyone could blink. Backstage, chaos erupted. Staff scrambled, producers shouted into phones, and social media exploded as clips of Harry's walk-off went viral within seconds. Hashtags like #Harry vs Ross and #Royal Meltdown began trending worldwide. The studio had never been so tense. Staff members whispered in shock, while Jonathan Ross sat frozen in his chair, trying to figure out how to spin what had just happened. Cameras cut to commercials, but it was too late. The clip of Prince Harry storming off was already racing across the internet like wildfire. On Twitter, hashtags erupted. #Harry storms off. #Royal Rage, #Ross vs Harry. Millions of people were glued to their phones, watching 30-second clips of Harry's face tightening in anger before ripping off his mic. By the time the program returned from break, the moment had already been dissected, replayed, and debated worldwide. Jonathan tried to regain control, but his voice sounded strained. Well, he forced a chuckle, that was dramatic. I guess not all princes are charming. The audience gave an uneasy laugh, sensing the insult but unsure whether to clap. Deep down, they knew they had just witnessed a cultural moment that would be discussed for years. Backstage, Harry was pacing, his fists clenched, his face red with fury. A producer nervously approached him. Your Highness, don't call me that, Harry snapped. Not here, not after that. The producer swallowed hard. Harry, please, we can smooth this out. Maybe return after the break, just say a few words. No, Harry cut in, shaking his head. I won't sit there and be insulted for entertainment. I came here to talk honestly, not to have Meghan's name dragged through the mud again. His security detail gently guided him toward the exit. Harry's heart was pounding, but beneath the anger was something else, an ache of exhaustion. No matter where he went, no matter what he said, the world always seemed to twist the story against him. As he stepped into the night air outside the studio, camera flashes blinded him. Paparazzi were already waiting, shouting questions. Harry, why did you walk off? Is Meghan the reason? Will you apologize to Jonathan Ross? Harry ignored them, climbed into his car, and slammed the door shut. Across the Atlantic. Meanwhile in California, Meghan had been watching the interview live. She had known it was risky, but she hadn't expected things to spiral so fast. When she saw Harry storm off, her stomach dropped. She grabbed her phone and dialed him instantly. Harry, she said when he picked up, her voice steady but full of concern. Are you okay? Harry exhaled, leaning back in the seat of the car. I lost it, Meg. He went after you. He went after us. I couldn't sit there and take it. You don't have to apologize for defending me, she said softly. But you do need to breathe. They'll try to twist this, Harry. They'll say you're unstable. They'll call it a meltdown. You can't let them own the story. Harry closed his eyes. I just wanted them to listen. To see me as more than some runaway prince. But all they want is drama. Meghan's voice was firm now. Then let's control the narrative. If they want to make this about drama, we'll make it about truth. The next morning, every newspaper, every website, every talk show had the same lead story. Prince Harry walks out on Jonathan Ross. The tabloids painted him as hot-headed and thin-skinned. Some called him Hollywood Harry, accusing him of being out of touch. Others applauded him for standing up for his wife. In London, paparazzi camped outside Jonathan Ross's home, demanding a statement. On his morning radio show, Ross tried to spin the incident in his favor. I was just doing my job, he said casually. Asking questions the public wants answered. If Harry can't handle that, maybe TV interviews aren't his thing. But not everyone bought it. Viewers flooded social media, accusing Ross of crossing the line. Clips of his "Isn't your wife the problem?" question circulated with angry captions: disrespectful, misogynistic, tabloid trash. Harry speaks out. 2 days later, Harry agreed to give a statement, but this time on his own terms. He recorded a video from his California home, Meghan sitting quietly beside him. He looked into the camera, his voice calm but unwavering. "I walked off that show because I refused to let my wife be vilified for the sake of entertainment. For years, Meghan and I have endured attacks, some subtle, some blatant, on her character, her background, her very existence in my life. Enough is enough. I will always defend her, just as she has defended me. If people want to call that weakness, so be it. To me, that's love. To me, that's strength." The video went viral. Millions shared it, praising Harry for standing by Meghan. Even those who had been critical of him admitted the sincerity in his words was undeniable. The fallout. Television networks debated endlessly. Some argued Ross had gone too far and should apologize. Others said Harry should have expected tough questions. Politicians chimed in, celebrities took sides, and royal commentators filled every news slot available. Behind palace walls, reactions were mixed. Some senior royals felt Harry had embarrassed the monarchy yet again. Others privately admitted Ross's questions had been cruel. Officially, Buckingham Palace released no statement, staying true to their motto: never complain, never explain. But for Harry, the moment was liberating. For the first time, he hadn't played along. He hadn't smiled politely while enduring disrespect. He had walked away. And that, he realized, was its own kind of victory. Weeks later, Jonathan Ross invited Harry back, publicly offering him a chance to set the record straight. But Harry declined. Instead, he doubled down on his new path, launching new projects, supporting mental health initiatives, and focusing on his family. One evening, sitting with Meghan in their garden, Harry reflected aloud. "Maybe I shouldn't have lost my temper. Maybe I should have stayed calm. But for once, I felt free. I wasn't the prince they could push around. I was just Harry, standing up for the woman I love." Meghan squeezed his hand, smiling. "And that's exactly why I love you." As the sun set, Harry realized the explosive argument on live TV hadn't been a scandal. It had been a turning point. A line in the sand. A message to the world: he was done being silenced. From that day forward, whenever people remembered Jonathan Ross's show, they didn't think of the jokes or the celebrity guests. They remembered the moment a prince chose dignity over spectacle, love over ridicule. And though the headlines faded, that decision echoed far beyond the studio lights.